Hello guys, Arcand here. Welcome back to another toe dip. This is Scary Gourmet. I'm doing this as a Halloween special. This is also my first ever Halloween special. I hope you guys will like it. This VN was made by TinySamm and art and concept was by High T. The story is about two gay dads who have a daughter who will be coming home for a Halloween dinner. But there's an unexpected surprise that their daughter will be bringing home her girlfriend, who is a witch and has refined tastes. So they're pressured to make a very delicious dish. So let's check out the story. Ahead of us was a more eventful night than most, as Halloween drew closer by the hour. Very few children dared to venture to the graveyard our little home was located in. Still, I'd procured some snacks to keep them occupied should they come to our door regardless. It was always best to be prepared for such eventualities. The sound of chopping filled the kitchen, and the windows rattled ever so slightly as a wind blew past. The house was dark, but my husband and I had a preference for the darkness, though each for different reasons. This doesn't look quite right, but perhaps it will cook down a bit once it's in the oven? I lifted a small cut of pumpkin to my red eyes and blinked over it carefully. I'd had pumpkin pie before, of course, but seeing the raw ingredients made me wonder if I'd somehow gotten it all wrong. And on top of that, this needed to be a vegan pumpkin pie, which threw a lot of my limited cooking knowledge out the window as it was. The rest of the mix was ready, as was the crust and the oven, but the actual pumpkin just didn't seem to be correct. Oh, I don't know anymore. How are you supposed to mash pumpkin anyway? The cookbook says to remove the seeds, but surely a few here and there won't hurt, right? With a sniff of the offending fruit, I popped it into my mouth, chewing it over a little. The texture was completely horrid, and the seed pieces were, indeed, far too crunchy. I swallowed and nearly gagged as it traveled down to my stomach, leaving me to shudder from the flavor. Ugh, that's not good at all, but we don't have time to waste. She'll be arriving in an hour or so. With a sigh, I thoroughly whisked the whole thing together. Thankfully, nobody in our household was much of a picky eater, so a few minor mistakes wouldn't put out the whole meal. With a click, I popped the whole pie into the oven, wiping some sweat from my brow in the process. A creaking carried through the house, followed by the slam of a screen door. With a start, I jumped back up to the little workstation at the countertop, trying to stay casual, but unable to suppress my grin as my partner walked into the kitchen, grocery bags ruffling. Phew! Hey babe, got everything you needed from the store. Cauliflower, extra firm tofu, the whole list. I must say, for a skeleton, ghost, ethereal dog, Bartholomew is hot. Oh, thank you, Barky. You really saved me on this one. Somehow the main course just completely slipped my mind this morning, and I got straight into making the dessert. Oh, of course. We gotta make this whole thing perfect for our little Bella, right? Yes, but, well, I love you too, hun. A wag of the tail and peck on the cheek from my favorite bar guest lifted my spirits a good deal. In case you're wondering, I had to look it up also. The Barghest is a mythical monstrous black dog with large teeth and claws in northern English folklore. He held me from behind for a moment, and I let myself rest my head against his chest, swaying back and forth with his rhythm. It had been a stressful day, and preparing for our daughter Bella to come home had frayed my nerves far more than I could have anticipated. She had left just a few months ago, and while it was nice having the house to ourselves, it felt so much emptier without her here. On top of that, she seemed to be changing pretty quickly. Just a couple weeks after starting the semester, she stated she preferred vegan meals going forward. She didn't ask us to make her coming home dinner vegan as well, and had even emphasized that she was fine with us following our own diets. But ultimately, she was our daughter, and we wanted to support her no matter what. I'm glad she was willing to come by for dinner tonight, especially with all those new friends she's been making. And a new girlfriend, apparently. Right, exactly. It's just nice that she'll spend the night with her old dads. Huh, we're not too old yet, I hope. I nodded with a chuckle. As I laid out each additional ingredient, I also found a small paper bag wrapped around a large bottle. I slid the wrapper off and held up the bottle, my smile widening as I took in the label. Oh, honey, you didn't. Whoops, guess you saw my little surprise. Blood wine, and an A-positive vintage, too. Oh, it's been too long since we had some at home. Dear, you shouldn't. Of course I should have. You've been so worried, so I thought we could, pop a glass or two once dinner is over, curl up, put on a movie. Oh, maybe have a Halloween date night. Right, and I know Belle is vegan these days, but she's not of age anyway, so that shouldn't be a problem. It was very thoughtful, sweetie, but we need to get through dinner first and foremost. Spooky ringtone. Bartholomew's ears perked up at the personalized ringtone, and his spectral body shimmered with surprise. He reached into his jeans and pulled out his phone, already giddy with excitement. Speak of the devil! Here, I'll put her on video, so we can all chat. Hiya, dads. Hope you're ready for a spooky as heck Halloween. Bella, honey, how are you? Everything okay? Your flight arrived on time and all that? Oh, do you perchance need us to come pick you up? Those rideshare apps you kids use these days seem so sketchy to me, so it's perfectly fine if you'd rather have someone you trust get you. Dad, come on. I can handle finding my own way home. Besides, I've already got it all handled. We're already en route right now. We? Oh, I told you before about Mozzie, right? Mozzie, say hi to my dads. Hello? You can call me Mothingan, or Mozzie, whatever you'd prefer. Oh, yes. She's the friend you made during your nutritionist course, right? Is she majoring in sports science as well? Not quite. She's on the applied witching track. Her family kind of has a tradition of producing witches. And actually, she's also the girlfriend I've been telling you about. We started dating a few weeks ago. Anyway, her family was busy doing some kind of big boring witching event or whatever. The annual witching hour. Yes, it's not exactly tedious, but flying on a broom in the autumn evening can be terribly exhausting. I'd much prefer to spend the night in. So I told her to come home with me for the holiday. Sorry to impose like this. Bella said it would be okay for me to come by. Well, it's a little last minute. But if you're already here, I suppose we can make it work. Yay! We'll be there in about 30 minutes. I should probably get back to watching the road. Love you both. Beep. Click. Oh, well, that's Bella for you. As spontaneous as ever, right, babe? Bartholomew's jubilant response was somewhat lost to me, as I had already dived back into the kitchen and was pilfering through our pantry for any culinary alternatives. We only had half an hour. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Babe? Glasses and bottles clinked together as I jumped up to the higher shelves. My stool never reached quite high enough back there, and at 49, I wasn't half as nimble as I once was, but panic had started swirling throughout my mind. Maybe we could still make this work. A cauliflower bake isn't exactly high-end, but if I took the tofu and some of these peppers... Climbing up, while reaching further back into the pantry, I felt my feet begin to lose their grip. I slipped and scrambled against the shelving, feeling myself beginning to fall. Oh no, no, no! With a thud, I fell backwards, my fur ruffling in the spectral arms of my husband. Oof! Whoa, Winnie! Honey, what's going on? You look like you're about to blow a fuse in here. Don't you see? It's the food! If we need more food, I could just run back to the store real quick, babe. Barky, it's not just how much food, it's the quality. Pumpkin pie, extra firm tofu, cauliflower from the sale section. I like cauliflower though. Bartholomew's playing his ears. So cute. That's not really what I meant. Look, Bella said her girlfriend was from a riching family. That means high class traditional Halloween dishes with brains and eyeballs and all that. Meanwhile, all we've got is a bunch of vegetables and a slab of tofu. Good for a little home-style vegan food, but that's no way to impress your daughter's girlfriend, especially not in a little old house that people think is still a crypt. Bartholomew looked at the floor for a moment, tail listing along with his gaze. Bella had never brought any of her girlfriends home before now, and even if it was last minute, making a subpar meal was out of the question. Alrighty then, let's improvise. The bar guest jumped back into the kitchen and was going through the grocery bag he'd placed on the countertop just minutes prior. I followed out, feeling a surge of self-confidence coming back to me. You said brains, right? Well, cauliflower is sort of brain-shaped. And tofu could be used for the eyes. Might be hard to make it into a ball, though. I fluttered around him, feeling more and more animated with each word. With a snap, I popped open one of the utensil drawers as well and started searching. We can use the ice cream scoop for the tofu. The small one should work wonders. As for the brain, the shape is good, but the color isn't quite right. Maybe... My mind felt like it was finally kicking into gear as each item was slapped onto the counter. Marky had a tendency to make every idea feel like a good one. I ran back to the pantry and brought back a bunch of jars, placing them down with everything else. Some kind of tomato sauce for the brain will look nice and ghoulish, don't you think? And some black olives and peppers for the eyes, to give them that classical dead stare. Reminds me of those fancy dinners at my mother's table. Oh, and maybe I could get some cider for the kids too. Deep red and bloody, just like our wine. That's perfect. Oh, but will you have time? I can sprint there and back, no problem. It'll be just 15 minutes, I promise. My husband practically leaped out of the kitchen, pulling his shoes back on, tail wagging with excitement. We were both starting to get on in the years, but he had been taking exceptional care of his body with exercise all the time. Okay, babe. See you in a bit. With a kiss on the cheek and a slam of the screen door, I could see him galloping down the driveway and out towards the main road. Our little neighborhood was a bit out of the way, but he always made the trip down to the grocery feel so short. Back in the kitchen, I put everything together into small piles and tried to consider the best approach for the moment. Tofu eyeballs, cauliflower brains, and some blood red cider. And of course, some pumpkin pie as the dessert. Well, it's not going to be very gourmet, but the appetizer and the main dish should still come together fine. Really, how much different is this from just what I was going to do anyway? I reached for the ingredients Barky had brought home earlier, but stopped short. My hands were shaking uncontrollably. The knowledge that so much needed to get done in such a short period of time was getting to me, no matter how many pep talks my husband could give.